for your presentation. First of all, in relation to your map of Castle Comer, why have you gone out one road a large distance? I understood that from where you'd be supplying the broadband from, that you could go 2 kilometres either way. Why is it gone completely sort of one leg down one road? It's just to notice it there. Second of all, just to be clear on this, you were saying that the way Air was doing it in their or with the way they're doing the 300,000, that it's €170 the customer pays. Under the National Broadband Plan, it's €100. That's €70 more. Secondly, you are bringing it to wire. I know that, and if a person brings it by duct to where the pole is, are you saying that under the National Broadband Plan there was a clause in it that it had to be brought to within so many metres of a house, or brought right to the house in every place? Thirdly, can you clarify something for me? Because if you have 200 million in your back pocket and you rock up and you decide you have the gear that you're going to put broadband somewhere, do you have to go for a licence? Have you get authority for it? Or can you do it of your own initiative? And the reason I ask you that is that we sat in for 83 days or 85 days of government talks, and we were told categorically within those talks that you would not get the contract that you were looking for the simple reason that it would affect the overall project of the whole National Broadband Plan, and that a licence wouldn't be issued. Can you clarify, were we being misled, that you can decide to go off, or I can if I have money and I have the infrastructure, and decide what part of Ireland, if I want to go to somewhere else, that I can go and give that broadband to anybody? Did at any stage over the last, say, 2 years before you came out of the process, when you highlighted the situation that you weren't comfortable with, was there any negotiation with the department that they were willing to change, or were they just stuck on this sort of set of rules that they were in? If it were changed in the morning, as other deputies have said, if the whole scenario changed, how quickly could we have the likes of year rollout system put into place, guaranteed that to be delivered, if the situation at the moment was put on pause and someone sat down with the likes of ye or some other provider? How quickly could we put it in place? Would we be 2 years again looking at each other trying to wonder when another announcement would come? Are you saying to me, and I want to be clear on this, that under the procurement situation, or the procurement document that the department was working with you on, that you would have to have in one floor of your building your business at the moment, and then other people would have to be put up on the next floor as a separate entity, that they couldn't really talk to the ones on the bottom? Extra staff, new setup, new building, away from everybody, because it was the National Broadband Plan. And how much of a problem over the last year or 18 months, while you're rolling out the 300,000 or 340,000, has it been with councils in the line of licences? How much of a problem has that been to set up? Right, we have a major problem right around rural parts of Ireland. When Telecom Éirden came round years ago, or the P&T, people let them put poles along their ditches or their fields or whatever. And I see GAA clubs, and I see people that might be widening a road, or somebody building a house. And first of all, to get you is the first thing, to get someone to come out and do it. And second of all, at the prices that you're charging at the moment, it is disgusting for people that gave ye ground years ago, or not ye, it was before you bought the business. It is disgusting to see the way people are being treated. You might be widening a bend, council might be trying to do it in a town where they are now trying to revamp towns, be it taking down air wires or ASB wires. It is costing a phenomenal amount of money. Why isn't there some sort of a goodwill gesture there to make sure that these jobs can be done to communities that's actually struggling for funding? And I would ask you as CEO of it, or to consider doing some sort of a look at that, especially in the rural areas. And would you, how long would you, if you were to get a contract in the morning, we live in a fantasy world, how long would it take you, in your estimation, to roll out the whole, to the 540,000 houses that they talk about? And were you disappointed more with the Minister or the Department at the given time that they didn't come back to you to try and resolve the issues that were in place?
A lot of questions there, so you might take note of your questions, Deputy, as to make sure they're being answered. Is that okay?
Yeah, well, I think of them.
Yeah. Okay.
So my colleague Ed has kindly written them all down, so I'll try and go through them one by one. So in terms of on the map, you say why was one blue line shorter than the others? Because what we're trying to do is get the roads with the most density. So we're trying to cover. We had 300,000 with the budget for 300,000. The budget of 250 million. We'd agreed to do 300,000. So it's all based on density. So if you look at the yellow kind of pin, that's our exchange. The kind of yellow kind of circle around it, that's our fibre to the cabinet footprint. And those ribbon roads coming out. So in every kind of exchange, we kind of said how many can we pick up, the max we can pick up across that exchange. So that's how we did it.
Tough luck if you were out some other road because you weren't in this distance.
Absolutely. But the reality is, if it wasn't tough luck, I would have been building a 400,000 network and I would have been over my 250 million budget and I'd be delayed. So, and every day I get requests from people to extend it a bit. But the problem is, if I extend it for one, I extend it for the other. And in reality, we did extend it because in the end we're going to do 340,000. But that's the reason. Okay. So in terms of the next one was on the connection. So the connection charge is charged to the operator. So we charge €170 to the operator. The operator then decides if they're going to pass that connection charge on to the consumer. Some operators, as part of their proposition, say, free connection charge. Others pass on some of it. So our connection charge to the operator is €170. And our understanding is that the NBI connection charge to the operator is €100.
Okay.
Licence, no, we don't need a licence. So if we decided tomorrow we wanted to do another 100,000, we need licences to open roads and, the things you need licences for. But in terms of if we decided that instead of going back into urban and suburban, we wanted to go further into rural, we could make that decision and go and do it. So no,
just clarify one thing for me, and I don't want to be interrupting you. We were told at the time that you wouldn't be given the licence, and then it came out later on that the EU forced the Irish government to give you to let you do what you were going to do, for the simple reason they wouldn't be allowed to include it in the intervention area. So
I think that sounds more like it, rather than you wouldn't give us a licence, because my understanding is you can't get state aid monies if a commercial investment has already gone in there. So yeah, so that sounds.
We were told lies, to be honest about it.
Yeah. Sorry, where am I now? So I suppose we've always, the next one is if the scenario kind of changed and you were back in it, how long would it take you to get up? And I think it would take the minimum of a year to come up with another way of doing this and to get the kind of ducks in a row to get started on it. Certainly, if any involvement we would have in future rolling out in rural Ireland, we would be leveraging our 300,000 bills, the additional fibres that are there and the additional connection points. So that means you can kind of get going from there. As part of going to all those exchanges, we have fibre backhaul to a lot of those exchanges, and that can be a big chunk of work, but we've done a lot of that already as part of our rural 300,000 rollout. But, to come up with a new model and to get people around the table, those things unfortunately don't happen as quick as many of us might like them. So on the duplication of wholesale, yes, the idea was, so our wholesale team at the moment sells right across the country, sells our network right across the country. The idea there would be that we would have a separate wholesale team. We didn't discuss separate buildings, but like with a line between them and that they would be the only people allowed to sell in the intervention footprint. So that provides, apart from cost and all that, but so for example, the IFA are a customer of ours. Their farmers are in, you know, the 300,000, there's a chunk of them in the intervention footprint and there's some in the suburban. We offer an overall service to them with an account manager, you know, that does all that for them. In this new model, we would have had some of them being looked at in the new wholesale division, looking after the intervention area, plus some of them being looked at in the 300,000. So, you know, just offering that customer an all, you know, an all country solution, which we do today, was going to be a challenge, never mind the cost. And the other bidders didn't have that because they didn't have established wholesale businesses like we did, so they didn't have that kind of, I suppose, that loophole to get through. Yeah, so we did have some difficulties with licences for councils. We, you know, as I said, we're at 315,000 today. Some of the original 300,000 that we signed off with the department haven't been delivered. They will be delivered over the summer, but a lot of that was to do with way leaves and licences. And I feel we got some unreasonable requests. So one council said they wouldn't give us some way leaves until we finished stuff they wanted us to do in urban, even though it was about our, you know, rural piece or whatever. So yeah, that is an issue. Some are better than others. Some move things on.
What council was that?
I'll have to check. On the poll issue and moving them, I don't know the details. I will look into it. I'm not promising you'll love my answer, but I will definitely look into it properly. So, I think there were two more. I think if we got the contract, how long would it take? You know, I've always said this is going to take 5 to 7 years, and we're actually building a national fibre network, so we would have to increase our capacity in terms of that. What was that? More disappointment in the department or the minister. I think we were disappointed with the engagement with the department over the 18 months because I think we thought we were raising very valid issues, you know, that should have been resolved. Our sense was that the department never thought that we'd pull out. And it was, even though it shouldn't have been a surprise, I think it was a surprise when we did pull out. And so we were disappointed not to get more engagement there. I mean, by the end, we spent over 70 million on this bid, and we were in it for a very long time. So, 17, sorry. Not 70. We were in it for a very long time, and you know we wanted to win it. We didn't really. We obeyed the protocol with the minister, so we didn't have that much engagement with the minister on the subject. And it was only really the former CEO, Richard Moate, when we were pulling out. I suppose out of courtesy, requested a meeting and then communicated with him.
Was there a meeting?
Yeah, there was. And at that meeting, he said that we would pull out, and then he followed up with a formal letter about a week later.